Welcome to the Pay Yourself First podcast. My name is Chris Jolly, and I'm on a mission to financially empower millions of entrepreneurs. I want you to make and keep more money so that you can begin implementing and turbocharging a plan for creating financial freedom your way during the life cycle of your current business without spending a ton of time or becoming a professional investor. You see, most of the financial teachings out there are made for employees, not entrepreneurs. If you wouldn't listen to someone who doesn't have kids about parenting, why take business financial advice from someone without a business? Are you ready to break free of bad advice and follow the trail of other uncommon entrepreneurs so you can get from where you are now to the lifestyle you were aiming to create when you started your business? Then stick around. Here comes another episode of Pay Yourself First, where the only investment we offer is the one you make in yourself. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Alchemy of Abundance Virtual Summit. We're talking about feeling good and making money. This time around, I am joined by Taylor Proctor. How are you today, Taylor?
Hi, I am so good. Thanks so much for having me as a part of the summit today.
Of course, super excited to have you on. Now, you're a business coach for entrepreneurs who dream of adding extra commas to their bank accounts and have yet to find themselves stalled in their journey to success. Now, you go by Get Good at Business, and you're empowering high-achieving coaches, startups, and leaders to become dominant forces in their industry with your suite of services, including your renowned Quantum Power Days and your I Move formula. So can you tell us a little more about all that great stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So I like to say, in the simplest terms, I am a business coach, and I am here to help entrepreneurs get good at business so they can get back into the heart of why they got into business in the first place. And as entrepreneurs, we get pulled in a million different directions. And so to help bring that back in and actually get that momentum, bring in that money, bring in that abundance, I like to use a method called I Move. And it stands for marketing, operations, velocity, and execution. And essentially, like, we've all been there where someone says, hey, do this and you'll see success. And then it falls flat on its face. And you're like, okay, what is wrong here? It's working for them. Why can't it work for me? And that's usually because it was not an action led by intuition. And so intuition is the first part of I Move, because when we can take aligned and congruent action in our business and in our lives, then we can get massive momentum and movement in our marketing, which is supported by our operational processes that can set us up to scale, which then allows us to add growth strategies that build in velocity without burnout, ultimately allowing us to execute with ease. And that is the I Move method.
Amazing. Thanks for clarifying that. Now, Taylor, we're going to focus on the intuition part for today. Your talk is 8-figure intuition, manifesting crazy opportunities for your business. And you've got an amazing story around that. So tell us a little more what we're going to be talking about there today.
Yeah, absolutely. So as crazy as it sounds, and hence why it's manifesting crazy business opportunities, I had an incredible experience last year where I had this thought that I could be an 8-figure entrepreneur. And at the time, I was walking in my backyard. I was pacing back and forth on my patio. It's just something I do regularly. And that thought just came in, that intuitive hit, if you will. And I was like, what? No, I don't, 8 figures. I don't even know how much that is.
Yeah.
And I had to count out on my hands that that's a minimum of $10 million. And so what we're sharing today is my experience in actually receiving an 8-figure business opportunity 2 weeks from when I had that initial hit.
Now, I think most people are going to say that sounds impossible. There's no way. So how did you do that?
So that was actually my very first thought, was no way. Like 8-figure, like, first off, let me count that out. Okay, 10, that's 10 million. Also, no. And then I started going into the how. And I was like, all right, I'd have to sell this many quantum power days. I'd have to do this. And I started getting all caught up in the complexity of like how I could do this, which then of course made it feel really overwhelming and even more impossible. So the very first thing I did was have a step back understanding of, okay, I can calculate it all out. I can feel overwhelmed. I can say it's impossible, or I can forego my expectations and ride the wave. Like, it doesn't hurt me to start thinking, oh, I can be an 8-figure entrepreneur. And if it doesn't happen, oh, well, again, it doesn't hurt anything to start thinking that way.
Yeah.
And it helps everything if I can start manifesting in that abundance. And so it's, you know what, let's just forego the how and the asking why, right? Why is this coming to me? Why did I have that thought? I don't even know what 8 figures means. That's impossible. Taking all those expectations and all those questions and just putting them on the shelf and being like, we're going to forego all of that and just ride the wave and see what happens when I tell myself, yeah, I can be an 8-figure entrepreneur, and see what kind of comes from that. And so that's really my first like tip within our session today is when you have that thought, when you have those ideas, those beliefs, those intuitive hits, and you're like, that feels freaking impossible, take away the expectations. Now, another thing is we often think, okay, I have to have this immediately. And it's like, no, you don't. And I actually didn't even have a timeline attached to it. So the fact that this opportunity came into my purview in a 2-week time period was insane. But a lot of that I think was able to happen because I had no expectations of how. I had no limitations that I'd put around this idea. And instead it was like, we're going to ride that wave and see how it goes.
Yeah, that's such a key point because oftentimes when we have these outrageous thoughts or when we want to set a goal that's really high, the first thing that happens is we do get bogged down in all that minutia. We try to figure out how. And your brain's never going to figure out how. Even if you could figure out how, it's not going to happen the way that you think it could happen. And then you go from how to the, oh, this is impossible. How am I ever going to do this? Like, it's never happened to me before. There's no way. I don't know. And then it just all goes to hell from there. And then you turn yourself off from receiving that.
Absolutely. And so really what I had to do to open to receiving it, not only forego the expectations, but then I really had to explore my identity. I had to really explore and look at, can I be an 8-figure entrepreneur? And notice I didn't say how can I, but just can I? Meaning, is that an identity that I can adopt as a person? And one of the things I love to do when I'm looking at adopting a new mindset, a new identity, a new path in my life is I like to do declarations. So I then started changing the way that I spoke to myself, specifically with a declaration that was, I am Taylor Proctor, an intuitive 8-figure entrepreneur and business strategist. And I just would say that over and over again. And so I mentioned that every morning I would go out and take a walk, and that's when I had this hit. And so every morning for that walk, which was about a 45-minute time frame where I'd be pacing back and forth on my back patio, I would say to myself, I am an intuitive 8-figure entrepreneur and business strategist. I am an intuitive 8-figure entrepreneur and business strategist. I am an 8-figure intuitive entrepreneur and business strategist. I would say it in different ways. I would say it faster. I would say it slower. I would say it whispered. I would say it in a funny accent. I would just say it over and over and over again. Because when we can input it into or get it through the filter, I should say, of our reticular activating center or system, when we can say it, see it, hear it, and feel it, now it has a higher likelihood for us to not have the filters around us of how that opportunity can come into play. And we've adopted it into our identity through that custom declaration so that opportunity can come to us really as quickly and efficiently as possible. We're not putting up blocks and barriers that we didn't know we were putting up. We're actually taking them down. And so really what I started doing was saying that declaration all the time to myself. Again, foregoing the expectation of how. I didn't say I'm an intuitive 8-figure business. I'm an intuitive 8-figure business entrepreneur, or intuitive 8-figure entrepreneur and business strategist. And I didn't say through this service, this offering, this, or I'm famous because I was on TV. Like, I didn't say any of those things. I just said, hey, I am 8-figure entrepreneur and business strategist. So what was fascinating about that is it feels a little crazy, especially when you're pacing back and forth, right? Like, I'm pacing, just talking to myself in my backyard. I'm sure if my neighbors were paying attention, they were like, what is she doing?
Yeah.
5 minutes a day. But I was like, look, if we're going to ride this wave, we're foregoing the expectations. I've got to be able to adopt this into my identity. I think that a lot of us, when we get overwhelmed with that how and those things, if we're able to forego the expectations, then we're like, well, just see what happens. And we don't start looking at how can I become the person, and in spiritual modalities and realms and things like that, we also tend to talk about raise your vibration. Same concept here. How can I become the type of person? How can I adopt the identity of the type of individual that can receive these things? How can I raise my vibration? And for me, that was through my step 2 of creating that custom declaration, which was present tense, I am, and what it was that I was getting the thoughts and the feelings around to become.
Yeah, now I want to talk about that a little bit because I know that one of the reasons so many people have issues when using affirmations, declarations, and things like that is because they're saying something that they want to be true and they want to believe, but deep down inside, they don't believe that it can be true about them. What can you tell people to help them if they want to make this statement about who they are or have this new identity, but they're having trouble saying it and actually putting the feeling behind it?
So, in my opinion, I don't think you have to have so much feeling and all these other thoughts happening behind it. Like I said, I just got into the habit of, okay, I'm taking a step, I'm saying it. I'm taking a step, I'm saying it. And that automatically starts to bring up, okay, maybe that's impossible for me. All right, let me write that down and I can do a belief breakthrough on that later. But coming back to, I believe this about I am this. And I don't have to believe it, but repetition makes it happen. Consistency can make it happen. It's almost, we always talk about how being around other people, you can see the possibilities. When you're just talking to yourself, I can't see the possibilities. But even through the repetition of it, your brain starts to expand its vision towards those possibilities. So it's not, I'm not saying they're saying, and you have to feel it and you have to, no, just say it over and over again to the point where it, oh, I'm walking, I'm saying my affirmation, I'm saying my declaration. And I should say, I call it a declaration. I'm declaring that I am this. I'm not trying to affirm that I am this.
Sure.
And that's a difference in mindset as well. If I'm trying to affirm something that I don't think is even plausible, that changes things. But if I am declaring that it's plausible and I'm saying that over and over again, without fail, you will start to see, okay, here's a belief holding me back. Let's clear through that. Oh, I had this thought come up. That actually could be a way that I could accomplish that. Like you really start to open up your purview to way more opportunities, even just by saying it to yourself over and over again, because it is not about the belief of it. It is about, in the scientific space, it's about getting it to your reticular activating center, your system, getting through that filter. And so when you're saying it, your body is feeling it. You don't have to emotionally feel it. Your body is feeling it. So you're saying it. I always like to have it written down somewhere so I can see it. But in this case, I'm saying it as I'm walking. I'm feeling it as I'm walking. My body is moving forward as well. So there's a feeling there. So see it, say it, feel it, hear it. Okay. So I'm hearing it as I'm saying it. So it has a much higher likelihood to come through the reticular activating center to be able to open up your purview. It's not about, I've got to believe that I'm the Queen of England. That's never going to happen. It's about, I am sovereign in my space, right? Yes, I can do that. And I can say that over and over again. And then the opportunities can come to help make it true.
Okay, so you're pacing around your house and your yard, saying this over and over to yourself. What happens next?
So what happens next is I had an opportunity to go to an in-person event. And I will be honest, I was like, I don't want to do that. I'd been invited to go to this event, and this person had actually invited me to go to several events, and I always would miss the invitation and I would find out about it afterward. So I felt bad that I had always been invited and never gone. And she finally caught me one early, and I'd said I would go. And then the day came, and it was 2 hours away from my house. It was on a Saturday morning. So it was like, I have to get up, I have to get ready, I have to drive 2 hours. I don't want to go. I don't even know what this conference is about. I'm literally going out of obligation. I just want to be home on a Saturday morning and be lazy. Intuition came in and said, nope, you need to go. So I followed my intuition, and my key takeaway here is don't be lazy. Right? You can't just put something up on the wall and wish it into being. Like, you have to take action. And so it's had the thought, forego the expectations, do the custom declaration, and don't be lazy. So I end up going to this conference, and I end up meeting a woman there that is incredible. And she says to me, "How come I've never met you before? How come we're not in each other's spaces?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know. We're 2 hours away from where I live. So if you live up here," and she goes, "Oh, I don't live up here." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So she's, "We need to talk. We need to connect." Awesome. We totally can do that. So we exchange phone numbers, and she sends me a message. This was on Saturday. She sends me a message on a Monday. So that next Monday, and says, "Hey, we just need to talk. I need to have you in my space. I need to learn more about you. Where do you live?" I live, and she literally says my city that I live in. And I'm like, "I live there too. What's your address?" Turns out she lives 7 minutes away from me.
Oh, funny.
We have never crossed paths. We do not have any similar circles. We just both happen to go to this event and connect. So she says, "Hey, I want you to come down to my house. Let's talk. I just want to get to know you better." I'm like, "Sure." Now, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking she's going to try to sell me into her platform, her offer, things like that. But I'm like, it's fine, whatever. I'll go talk. So I go to her house, and she starts asking me questions about my past, how I got to where I'm at, all of these things. And towards the end, she says, "Okay, I need you to be a member of my executive team." And I'm like, Okay." And here's the thing about when you're following your intuition and inviting the abundance, right? The alchemy of abundance is people just feel it, right? Like, in a normal setting, I would have been like, "You don't know me. You just talked to me for 45 minutes and now you're offering me a job as a member of your executive team." But she was intuitively aligned. The universe is working in my favor on all of this. And so she offers me this job. Just feels totally right about it. And I'm like, "Yeah, we could look into that." She goes, "I need you to be my COO." So she tells me about her company and all these things. And I'm like, "Actually, yeah, I think that could go really well." And so I said I would go home and think about it. So I'm going to pause us there because that would lead into what I consider like the final step of this whole piece. But really, it was like, don't be lazy. I went to this event. I met this person. I could have ignored her texts. I could have, she's crazy. Like, I just met this person and she's offering me a job. Like, I could have just said no right then and there. There's so many pieces where I could have been like, this is going to be hard work, or I have to go somewhere, or I have to meet somebody at their house. I just want to be home and be a homebody, which is what I'm really prone to. And I just want to, I don't want to do any of that stuff. And it's no, this is the universe putting things in place to make this thing that we said we wanted to do happen. And so my key takeaway there is, don't be lazy. Follow the path, because if you're just sitting at home and wishing that it's going to happen, it most certainly won't. It has to be backed by some forward movement and action. And so my simple way of saying that is, don't let yourself be lazy, follow the action.
Yeah, and there's plenty of opportunity out there, but you have to put yourself in its way. Usually opportunity, I mean, it knocks, but it doesn't usually knock on your door when you're sitting at home, right?
Exactly. And it's really fascinating too, because I never would have a million years thought that going to a conference would have resulted in this 8-figure opportunity. It never would have crossed my mind. And that event itself was actually really small. And so to go to an event that I had no idea what it was about, wasn't even sure if I wanted to go, but had some obligation to go, and then meeting this one person out of this very small group of people that could make these things happen, it just has to be divine or universal, or all of these, however you want to call it, like the source is making it happen because we're manifesting that abundance. And I never in a million years would have thought that action that I was like, "Oh, I don't want to go," but intuition is saying go, would have resulted in what was to come.
Yeah, you never can be sure, and you really just have to take the steps and put yourself out there, because otherwise, it, like you said, it's not going to happen. And if you just sit there and wish it, you're not really being authentic or aligned with getting that thing, because it comes back to that identity, right? If you want to have this thing, you need to be the kind of person that does what that person does to get that thing. And unless fat is what you want to get, I think sitting at home on your couch just wishing for things probably isn't going to help.
100%.
All right.
What happened?
Yeah, what happened? We all want to know.
So she offers me the job, and I say, I believe in the intuition space that every person has access to over 60, that is a 60, different forms and ways of receiving intuition hits. And that was huge for me back in the day because like I would work with people like coaches and whatnot, and they'd be like, oh, I just got full body tingles. I know that's right. And I'd be like, I'm not getting any tingles. Or they'd be like, oh, I just feel it in my gut. And I'm like, I'm literally feeling nothing. And so for a really long time, I thought I wasn't intuitive.
Okay.
And I actually was really upset by that because I would see, I was in a space of entrepreneurs that were making decisions based off their intuition and things were working out for them. And I was like, I have everything I could possibly need to be successful. And I feel like I don't have intuition and I'm here treading water and they just have this super secret power that suddenly makes everything work out for them. And I was pissed about it. And then I discovered the 60 intuitive strengths. And that was like a light bulb moment for me because I realized that I don't receive intuition the same way the people I had been around were receiving it. So I believed I didn't have it, but it really was, I have it in a different way, a different capacity. So my core intuitive strength is actually a sense of adventure. And what that looks like is I am ready to put on the backpack and go and hike up the mountain and be super excited and loving the fact I'm wearing thick socks and oh, we're around the bend and look at this view and I can't wait till we get to the top and I'm taking my 10 pounds of water and I'm still super excited, right? That sense of adventure for what's to come. The opposite of that is I got to put on my wool socks and they're thick and they're heavy and my feet are sweating and we're going to hike up this mountain and okay, maybe just around the bend we're here. Not even close. And can we just rest? I don't want to take in the view. I just want to get this over with, right? There's a big difference between those two emotional states around adventure. One is a sense of adventure and one is a sense of dread. And I have found that for me is my intuitive strength. If it feels like it's going to be an adventure, then I know it's right and aligned for me. If it feels like I could do that, could go hike up that mountain. Do I really want to? Or, oh, yeah, I could do that. It's going to be so much work, but the money will be good, but oh, so much work. There's a difference there. And so as I went back and reviewed the job offer, I had a huge sense of adventure. And so I was like, all right, this is the thing. But I also wasn't going to compromise because remember, I said I'm an 8-figure entrepreneur, not working for somebody else as a job. So we went back and forth and I said, hey, I think this is great. It's aligned with what I'm able to do, but I want to be a contractor and you pay me through my business and I still run my business and all the things I do there, but I'd be happy to come in and help and make this happen. And she said, yeah, absolutely. So this is where we get to the good parts here. So I started working with the company. And in the first day, she says to me, hey, so obviously as COO, you're working on all the operation capacity and things like that. We're already partnered and contracted working with an M&A broker. M&A stands for mergers and acquisitions. She goes, our goal and our plan, and she had mentioned this in the discussion, but I didn't like really take in. I was like, oh yeah, cool. So she's bringing it back up again. She goes, we're working with an M&A broker and I would love for you to be their main point of contact to get the company operationally set up to sell. Our mergers and acquisitions broker believes that in the next 3 to 5 years, we would be able to sell this business for $1 billion or more. I'm like, okay. So I start working with the M&A broker. It's all great, good. I end up like coming home and something clicks and I go, I negotiated for a percentage of ownership in this company as part of my contract. So I'm getting paid as a contractor, but I also negotiated for equity ownership. So I go pull out my contract and I have 1% ownership in this company. And those of you who are mathy have already gotten there, but I'm not. And so I was like, what's 1% of $1 billion? And it's $10 million, which is 8 figures.
Dun, da, da, da.
So in a 2-week time frame, which again, I wasn't putting a time frame on it, it just happened so quickly. In a 2-week time frame, I was able to forego the expectations, implement that custom personalized declaration, adopt it into my identity. I did a couple of other things in there, and then I wasn't lazy, went to the event, and then ultimately I followed my intuition and said, yes, I think this would be a great thing. I'm getting that sense of adventure. Let's do it. And so now I actually am no longer the COO. I've shifted to be on the board of directors for this company. I still have my equity ownership. It is still on track to sell for $1 billion in the next 3 years. And hence, I had an 8-figure business opportunity come out of the sky because I didn't know her. I didn't have anything to do with her business. I didn't have anything related to her or how this could happen. And it literally just dropped in my lap.
Amazing. So everybody out there will expect you all to be multimillionaires by next week. No pressure.
No pressure. Well, that's the thing is if you're going to manifest something, don't put the pressure on it. Just be like, oh, I'm going to ride this wave and we'll figure it out. And like I said, there was a couple of other things I did in there in that 2-week time frame, right? I did some belief breakthrough work. I did some other like past life regression type of stuff. There were things in there that also supported this direction, but ultimately it's, man, don't put expectations when you have these intuitive hits and these ideas that come to you. And then explore how you can adopt them into your identity and become that person. Take action. I love that you had said that, right? Take action because that person takes these kind of actions. And then ultimately follow your intuition as it pertains and is customized to you. It's like a fingerprint, right? So you follow and know your intuitive strength to help know that you're making the right choices for you, for your business, for your life, and to ultimately manifest that dream that came to you whenever it came to you.
Taylor, what an absolutely amazing story. Now, I want to ask you, because I know for a lot of entrepreneurs, when they think business, they think systems, they think strategy. It's a very masculine thing, very like hyper focused. And so oftentimes as entrepreneurs, we push our intuition to the side because we feel like it doesn't have a role to play. How can we use our intuition in business to make our life easier, to make more money, and to make our time more pleasurable?
Absolutely. So I love that you say this too, which is why even in how I was sharing the story, I'm very like, and step 1 and step 2 and step 3. So I'm very in that masculine structure space personally. And as a business coach, right, you often see that. And I love the call out there because intuition is such a crucial piece. And I saw that firsthand where I was all masculine, all systems. I know I have everything in the right order and in the right place. There's no reason I shouldn't be successful. Why am I keep on hitting these brick walls? And other people were like, I just got a download from God and I took this action and it resulted in $25,000. And I'm like, what the hell? And so I've lived that firsthand and really had to explore and examine how to use intuition in my business. And one of the most effective and efficient ways that I have found, if I'm just going to pull one core tip on this, is I ask myself how something feels. And I do this with my clients all the time on a scale of 1 to 10. And so it's, hey, we just built out this strategy. We're excited about it, but how does it feel on a scale of 1 to 10? And if it's anything lower than a 7, don't bother with it. It's a 5, but I feel like I should do it. Or if it's a 3, okay, but maybe I have to work through some beliefs or I need to have these systems in place to get to it. And it's like anything lower than a 7, drop it. It's not a good fit right now and it's not ready to come to fruition. And if you're trying to force it, that's when we hit the walls in our business. Now, if it's a 7, an 8, or a 9, I ask myself, what needs to change to make it a 10? And sometimes that's, oh, actually, if I just change these couple words, that makes sense. Or I don't really feel comfortable doing cold email or cold DM outreach, but I actually could get that if I did this here. And you can shift it into intuitively being aligned to a 10. And so I often ask myself, hey, how's this feel on a scale of 1 to 10? I ask my clients all the time, how's this feel on a scale of 1 to 10? And in doing so, you can take that intuitive, that congruent, that aligned action really easy with a simple question and knowing where does it fall on the scale, and then asking the follow-up if it's a 7, 8, or 9, how to make it a 10. And if we have time, I would love to share a story about this.
Yeah, go for it.
So good. Okay, perfect. I was working with a client, and you had mentioned in my bio, I do something called Quantum Power Days. And it's a single day where we go in and we get stuff done in your business. So it's a little bit of coaching, it's a little bit of breakthrough work, but ultimately it's here's the things that have been on your to-do list. Let's go in and get these done. So you have momentum, quantum leaping your business into the future. That said, I had a client that one of the things on her list was create a course. So we're going through the list, we're getting through things, and it comes to the time where I'm like, cool, let's talk about creating your course. And I've created courses in Power Days before. So this was not like I don't want to do it. It was really like, cool, we can totally do this. But I noticed every time that she would talk about creating her course, her body language would go a little bit more concave. Her voice would lose a little bit of that confidence, that tenor to it. And she just didn't seem that engaged on a course, but it's on her list. So I said, hey, tell me, before we get into this, tell me, why a course? Why do you want to do a course? And she goes, I think that I should. That's a red flag. If you're ever telling yourself, I think that I should, cut that out. If it's a should, it's a shouldn't, right? But she's, I feel like I should, and I want the reoccurring revenue. I'm like, awesome. Let's talk through that a little bit. You do understand that you have to put the same energy behind marketing this course as you do creating it. Meaning, a lot of entrepreneurs have bought into this lie that if I build it, they will come. And I'm like, you're going to have to market this course to sell it. So could you talk about this course every day for 90 days and still be completely stoked about selling this course? And she was like, honestly, no. That's another way of asking, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how does this feel? She's, oh, no, I don't want to talk about it all the time. I just want to create it and have it be recurring revenue. And I'm like, that's not a thing. Like, you still got to sell off this recurring revenue. And I said, okay, if you could do anything you want, because we're entrepreneurs and we can, if you could do anything you want, what would that be? And she goes, oh my gosh, everything changes. Oh my gosh, I would love to work with people in a small, intimate setting. Like, I love the idea of hosting retreats. Like, she just lights up about this idea of retreats. I said, okay, why don't we create a retreat? I don't have this, and I don't have this. And she started putting in all these expectations of things she had to have before she could build retreats. And I said, and course was one of those. And I said, let's just put the course on the back burner. I'm not saying we'll never do it, but we can come back to that. Let's talk about what would happen and what it would look like to build a retreat for your business. So we end up building out a full retreat model, all of these pieces, practicing her selling it, the marketing, the agenda, we know the location, we've built out our, like I mentioned, the financials, done all these things to say, okay, this is what you could do to a retreat. And in that, we did 2 things. We listed out and paid attention to, okay, if she hosted a retreat and sold it out, which was 10 people, sold it out, she would actually make $20,000 profit from that retreat. And it could be a great opportunity to sell into her next level program. And that's a $50,000 program for the year. So we built all this into this retreat model. Course is forgotten at this point. And we're like, cool, this is great. She's excited. I'm going to do a retreat. The Power Day ends and we build all the other things for it, but Power Day ends and she starts selling her retreat. She sells it out. It goes, she has all the people there. She sold it out. So there's the course, or not the course, sorry, the retreat, $20,000 in 3 days of profit. Okay. Now I can't say what the course would have done.
Yeah.
But instinctively we know without ads and everything behind it that it would have gotten that much profit in the 3-day period. So fast forward, now she's doing retreats regularly. So her second retreat, she actually oversells that, sells it to 12 people. And at the end of that retreat, so you're already $20,000 profit. At the end of that retreat, 11 of those 12 individuals who attended bought into her $50,000 a year program.
Wow.
So I love to share this story because a couple of things. One, it's important to pay attention to what you think you should be doing versus what you want to do. follow that desire of, if I could do anything, it would be this. Go do it. And paying attention to your intuition to help guide, asking that 1 to 10 question, or being like, if I could do anything, what would it be? Or could I talk about this for 90 days straight and maintain the passion about it? That is going to be an indicator of like where intuitively you really need to go. And in her case, again, I can't really say what would have happened with the course. And it's on the back burner still. We can always build it out. But ultimately, she now has she was launching her business, a rapidly profitable coaching business where she is connecting with individuals that she can truly help and offering the transformation in a 3-day retreat setting and in her coaching program. And she has a successful business that she doesn't need to worry so much about and trying to do all these little nitty-gritty steps to get there. It's just jump in, and intuitively that was the path that was going to be where she needed to go to have that successful business as soon as possible. And so I love sharing that story because it's truly an impact of, or an example of the impact of following your intuition immediately, almost instantaneously. Granted, there's still extra work and things like that. We had to build it all out. She had to still market it. She still had to host the retreat. She still had to be willing to sell her $50,000 program. But ultimately, it was like, this is the launch pad that she needed, that if we hadn't tapped into the intuition side of it and had done the, conventional, I need to have this structure and this in place, I don't think that she would have had near the ramp up to a successful business as she's now had doing what she actually loves.
Yeah, it's so important to make sure you can put your heart and soul behind what you're doing, because otherwise, like you said, you're just doing something because you think you're supposed to. And yeah, there are some things that you're going to have to do in life and business that may not be your favorite. But if you're constantly doing things that you don't like to do just because you think you should, you're going to burn out. You're not going to get the results that you want. You're not going to be aligned with what you're doing.
Yeah. And that's that masculine, right? This is what a professional or a successful business looks like. This is how I need to do it. This are the steps to get there. And it's, but if you could just throw some intuition in there and be like, oh, not that step though. I don't need that step. Oh, I don't need that. And be able to make it work for you. That's that congruent, that's that aligned action that then leads to the rest of the I move, which is that marketing, the operations, the velocity, and the execution.
Amazing. Okay, now Taylor, before I let you go, let's talk about your free gift. The link for that is going to be right below this video, and your free gift is called the 8 Crazy Things email series. So tell everybody what that's about.
Yeah, so I'd mentioned in my story that I did a couple of other things that I didn't mention here, like some belief breakthrough work, some past life regression, some other things to accelerate that time frame where that 8-figure opportunity dropped in my lap. So what this is, a free email series. You get an email a day for 8 days where I come into your inbox and I actually share a video of me talking and highlighting the action that I took. So it's a great resource to come back to the 4 steps that we talked about, but also the other 4 steps I took to really blow things open and make this happen so quickly and essentially drop out of the sky into this 8-figure business opportunity that I had the wonderful honor of taking advantage of. So it's that free email series, and they're not long videos. I think the longest one is 7 minutes. Everything else is in that 3 to 5 minute range. So who doesn't have 5 minutes a day to watch or listen to a video on how to manifest a business opportunity that may seem crazy, but you totally have the power to manifest it and have that abundance in your life. So like you mentioned, the link is down below. I would love to see you there. And it's the 8 crazy actions I took to manifest this 8-figure business opportunity.
Amazing, Taylor. Thank you for sharing that with everybody. And thanks so much for coming on and being part of the summit.
Thank you so much for having me. And it's been a great summit so far, and I can't wait for the rest.
Absolutely amazing. Everybody else out there, thank you for joining us for this talk for the Alchemy of Abundance Virtual Summit. And we will see you on the next one. Ciao.
If you've listened this far, chances are you're an entrepreneur looking to become more financially literate and create financial freedom for yourself from your business.
The Pay Yourself First podcast
is definitely here to help with that. My goal is to continue to share what I've learned about using your business as the tool to create financial freedom. But let's face it, it would take me years to share with you everything you need to know via these episodes. Creating financial freedom is something that most people never even consider, let alone make a plan for or take action towards. It's something almost no one was taught anything about. Doing it as an entrepreneur is even more challenging, especially without support. So if you're ready to get clear on what financial freedom looks like for you, come up with an action plan, and get the support systems and accountability you need, I invite you to consider the Abundantly Infinite Entrepreneur. I created the program to help entrepreneurs just like you get a handle on their personal and business finances and start building confidently towards financial freedom. And it's how you can discover ways to take 10 years off your retirement, add an extra 5 or 6 figures to your portfolio, and finally get clear on what numbers you should be tracking in your business and why. Together, we'll gain clarity around your financial goals and what being financially free would actually look like for you. Then we'll put together a customized game plan to get you there and the accountability to see you through. And by the way, you're also going to get all the spreadsheets you need to run your numbers, lifetime access to the materials, including any updates, and entry into our members-only community. In addition to all the knowledge, coaching, community, and systems that you need to create financial freedom from your business, you'll also receive a free financial assessment, a retirement planning session, and guided meditation aimed at helping you embody the feeling of true financial freedom. So yeah, you can just listen to the free content on these podcasts to help you move towards becoming a financially free entrepreneur. And sure, you'll likely see some results, or you can make the decision to commit to learning, implementing, and embodying what you need to know to create the financially free life you dreamed of when you started your business journey. Click the link in the show notes to answer a quick questionnaire, and you'll be on your way to joining the Abundantly Infinite Entrepreneur.